at me. She was like, "Don't compromise," and I was like, "Okay." So I just, that's what it was. But either way, I hope you guys' day was great. I hope you all had a fabulous day. Thank you for attending. And if you did attend, I just want to congratulate you and already let you know that you have taken the first step that a lot of people don't take when they say that they actually want to write a book. So congratulations to you for that. To write a book is a journey, but it's a rewarding journey. So I love always explaining it. I love talking about it. My name is Robin Chappelle. I am a author. I have written 3 books, and I'm actually working on my fourth. I've been writing for about 4 years now, officially as a published author, but I've actually been writing since I was about 13 years old. So this is something I know I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. I'm also the CEO of Right Away Publishing Company, and that is my publishing company that I use to help other authors self-publish their books and to help them out if they don't have the time to self-publish their books and if they just need assistance with editing, formatting, book design, marketing. I create content. I do it all. So today we're just actually going to go over some basic tips that have to do with you actually starting your book, you knowing what you're writing, and the reading that you're writing. So those are very important factors. I'm just first going to actually ask that we pause, just take a minute, and we're going to take a moment of silence and just say a prayer to get us started. If you don't believe, you don't have to, but just take a moment of silence or reflection. Just give yourself positive thoughts. But I like to lead everything with a prayer. God leads my life, so just for a brief moment. Thank you, God, for bringing us here today. And I ask that you just please through me that I provide the information and the answers and the keynotes that everyone needs. I ask that you please just give everybody positive vibes, positive attitudes so that they are able to consume this information and use it for their future and for whatever they are attempting to do with their lives and with their books. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to get into it. And I thank you guys for that moment. I do just like to go ahead and take that time to reflect. Like I said, my name is Robin Chappelle. Besides being an author and being a CEO of a publishing company, I am also a mother and I am also a student, still pursuing my degree in psychology online. So I kind of juggle a bunch of everything. I'm also a wife. So just like everybody else, I have a lot of things going on. And I know a lot of people say that, like, where is the time to actually write a book? Who can find the time to write a book? And it's a very valid question for a lot of people who are single mothers, people who are working full time jobs, and people who just can't seem to find the time in a day. And I'm not even gonna lie and act like it's a magical thing because I did have to put in extra hours or be up earlier in the mornings or stay up a little later. But if you want to pursue something, if you have a passion to do something, then you put that dedication into it. And even if you have to do it slowly, every day it's progress towards something. So the first thing we are going to talk about is the fact that we want to make sure that we know the advantages of actually self publishing. So, self publishing versus traditional is not really a tricky thing. Self publishing is recommended more than anything because it has to do with the word in itself, which is self. So, that means you are doing everything. You own everything. You own your copyrights. You got to make sure that you do copyright your work so that no one steals it. And I'm going to get into that later. But you own your work and you're able to brand yourself. You're able to do whatever you want with your work. You can merchandise it and you don't owe anyone. You don't have to worry about actually hitting deadlines that other traditional companies give their authors. You don't have to worry about someone taking your book rights or you being able to do a movie. You can do whatever. If someone wants to make your book into a movie, you're good because it's your book and it's your work. So that's the first thing that I also want to get into is the fact that self-publishing eliminates the middleman. It makes you your own boss. So I always encourage self-publishing because traditional, it's like having a gatekeeper in front of your work. You really can't do much with it. They're always over everything. They're making sure that they're able to profit off of it more than you. So self-publishing is definitely the way to go. Is the way I've been going since my first book. When I first started writing, I went through a publishing company called Author House. And that's before I really did my research and I just really wanted to be a published author. Everybody wants that title. But I just went into this publishing company. They were a self-publishing company, but I realized I was, spending about thousands of dollars on these publishing packages. And I only got one. I got like the basic one that was about a little over $1,000. But that didn't include marketing. That was a whole nother package. That didn't include book fairs. That didn't include anything that has to do with you selling your book. So you just have a big box of books and they don't help you with anything else. And you spent like, a bunch of money. So that's why I started my publishing company because I feel that it's pretty affordable to do most of the things that they did for me, but they just made it, more expensive because I didn't know what I was doing. So it's like they took the work off my hands, but it didn't take as much money as I paid. So that's what I want to let everybody know is the secret to just making it simple and to actually doing most of the stuff on your own or going through a more affordable company because it doesn't take $1,000 to make a book. I'm just gonna let y'all know that now. That's the truth. But okay, so self-publishing also lets you maintain the majority of your royalties when it comes to book sales. So if you want to keep your royalties per print book, you definitely want to do self-publishing because you don't really owe anyone. You probably only owe the book designer and the person who is the retailer. They get a certain percentage for actually selling and marketing your book, but you're getting up to at least 55 to 60%. So you always want that as an author because that's your work. That's your baby. So no one should be getting more royalties than you are for creating your work. So self-publishing keeps the money in your pocket and it also helps you profit more off of branding yourself. And we're gonna get into branding later. But the purpose of your book is the first thing that you need to ask yourself and that you need to get into. It's what I ask every writer before they start writing a book because everybody's always saying they want to write a book. They have a story, they have a story to tell, they know it'll make a lot of money. They just want to write this book. But then you ask them, so what's it about? Or, have you started writing it? And it doesn't go anywhere past that. So unfortunately, you just, have people saying that they want to write a book, but they really don't, they haven't asked themselves the question, why? They don't know the purpose why they're writing this book or what's the reason they're doing it. Most of the time it's just to say they've written a book or it's just to pretty much, I don't know, get something out the way. But either way, they're not dedicated to it. So you have to have the purpose in your book. So why am I writing this book and who is my audience? Those are the two key questions that you have to ask yourself before you write anything because you have to know who exactly you're writing to. Are you writing a self-help book? Who are you helping? Who are you trying to touch? So these are the questions that are simple to answer, but it actually takes marketing research. It takes you actually figuring out who your audience is. So that's the first thing that you need to write down is that your audience needs to be actually shrunk into demographics. So, say that you are writing a book about trauma and about women overcoming trauma, and you want them to be motivated, inspired, you want them to thrive, and you want them to be better women and not let their trauma, mess up their future. So, that is a certain type of a self help book. But you're saying you want to help women overcome trauma. But which women are you talking about? Is it women that are 18 to 25? Is it women that are 30 to 35? Is it women that are 50 and over? Because if you think about it, women that are 18 to 25 aren't going to process and read something the same way that a woman over the age of 50 would. So you have to take that into consideration and actually say, what's the age group that I'm also writing for? And are you writing for all women or are you writing for just your culture? It broadens, and it actually goes into bigger bubbles of knowing who you're specifically narrowing it down to who you're writing for. So those are the first questions that you really, really have to get into. And it takes work and it takes dedication. And sometimes it takes months of research before you actually start writing your book. But that is going to eliminate like so much confusion of who your target audience is. When it comes to your target audience, those are the people that you just narrow down. You don't have to go around and you don't have to sell to just different people. You're just throwing in the air. You need to have a plan. So the next thing is that you have to check on yourself. Actually check on you and see like, are you ready to write a book? Do you have the energy? Do you have the time? And do you have the capacity to actually publish a book? Because writing a book sounds fun, but it's not as easy as it seems. It's not as smooth as it seems. You're going to have times when you're not inspired. You're going to have times when you're very inspired. So it's just about your progress. It's about how you want to do it. But either way, you have to put in that time. So if you are a parent or if you are working a job or if you are juggling a bunch of stuff and you know that you be overextending yourself, don't do yourself that way. Sometimes it's just not your time, but actually ask yourself, are you ready to write a book? Because it takes dedication, it takes persistence, and it takes you actually sticking to it and keeping that momentum. You can't start writing a book and then you let 6 months go by and then you go back to it because then you kind of have to start all over. You forgot what you wrote at first. So you have to stick to it. It's just something that we just have to do. But Sometimes it can take up to a year. Sometimes it can take up to just only 6 months. But it depends on you. It depends on how you're going to work it. So the biggest thing that a lot of writers don't do is that you have to actually create a writing schedule when it comes to that, and that takes time management. So creating a writing schedule has to do with when you feel like you are most inspired. You have to actually ask yourself, are you a morning person? Are you a night owl? Which parts of the day are you more awake, alive, and actually thinking about more ideas? And that plays a big factor into it because you don't want to be up trying to write when you know that you're just slumped from the day or that you're tired from a full-time job. So if it sometimes does have to be 1 hour that you take for yourself on a weekend, that's still progress that you're making weekly, but that's your writing routine. So that's what I mean by creating a writing routine. You actually have to create a time and a space and a place for yourself to write because trying to do it around distractions and too much stuff is not going to put that same energy into it. So that's the next thing is creating a writing schedule. Make sure that you know that you have time that you can set aside. So once you actually create a writing schedule and you get your book out there, figure out if you want to actually do it in a DIY, which is do it yourself system, or an actual assisted system. So when you're creating your book, you can actually do everything on your own if you like. Like it doesn't take you going through a company if you don't want to. You can actually find someone to create a book cover, personally edit for you, personally format for you, and it doesn't have to be a self-publishing company. But if you do want to go through a self-publishing company like mine, Right Away Publishing, then it would be assisted and it would be for a certain fee that you would actually be getting your book designed, formatted. It would take the time off your hands that you may not have. So doing it yourself is a task, but it can be done. So the things that come with doing it yourself, which I did actually with my first two books, was to actually go through your own apps, go through your own research, figure out what companies you want to use to help you with your book. So the ones that I used the most were actually Canva and Fiverr. Fiverr is my best friend. I'm gonna let y'all know that. I want y'all to write that down. Fiverr, and that's with two R's. Fiverr helps you with everything that has to do with creating book covers, marketing, editing, anything that you need. And these are freelance editors and freelance designers. Some of them are overseas, but either way, they're affordable. Sometimes it takes $5 up to $50, however much you want to spend for what you want that's worth it. They're professional. They do it within a usually a 24-hour time frame. They're pretty communicative with you. They let you know it's going to take longer. But Fiverr is has been the best app that I have found since writing books because it's like even if you want to just do a quick marketing to pre-sale your book, that's just a temporary cover that you can get made or just a cover that you can have to market your book for the moment until you get another one made. But either way, it's a great system. And the other thing is Canva. Canva is more of a do-it-yourself site. You're actually putting certain graphs, shapes, and fonts together to create your own posters and to create your own marketing content. But I love Canva. If you love creating content yourself, you'll love Canva. Canva is for the content creator, for people who know what they're doing as far as when they're putting pictures together, creating posters, and creating things that have to do with promotion. So I like Canva to a certain extent, but it just depends on you. It depends on the time that you have. So the next thing that you actually want to do is see if you want to create an ebook or if you want to do a print book or if you want to do both. So there's a difference in that too. Creating a print book has to do with you actually having books in hand. And honestly, I do like having print books at all times because that gives you room for marketing. That gives you room to actually do book fairs, to do book expos, to do business expos. You can really sell your book anywhere. You can set up a table on the corner if you want to with your books and sell them there because they're your books and you self-published them. But either way, you want those books on hand for anyone who asks about your books to say that you are an author. You have one right there, and you're just like, yeah, I have one right here. Do you want to buy it? So that has a lot to do with your decision. Ebooks do have to do with actually creating a more catchy book design, book cover to me, because you have people online looking for books. So you want the book cover to catch your eye and to catch their eye and to make sure that you're actually getting marketing sales. But ebooks and print books both can profit for you. And if you remain dedicated and you don't lose momentum, Most of the time, books can be published and they can be finished within 6 weeks to 6 months. But that's if you stick to it. So, some people it does take about a year or so, and that's okay. Everybody moves at their own pace. Everybody moves at their own momentum. But the thing is that like I said, you have to actually be ready and know if you're ready to write this book or if you just don't have the time. So it takes progress. And just like any other skills, it's going to take practice. It's not always just something that comes to your mind. You're just like, you want to write a book and it just flows out. There's such thing as writer's block. There is times when you're going to be uninspired. There's going to be times when you're just too tired to write any type of words. But either way, it all comes together and it all creates a final work of art. So, as a self published author, you should learn from the art of sometimes making mistakes and cleaning up those mistakes. What I do also recommend is that you get into the art of self editing. Self editing has to do with you actually fixing your own mistakes and editing your book to the best of your ability. Actually, going through and finding those basic mistakes because most of the time it saves time and it saves money. People just type up a book and they're just going at it and they don't look at basic words and basic things and they just hand it off to an editor, but that's more time and more money that you're paying for an editor to fix those basic mistakes, and it's more time that wasn't really needed because you could have just skimmed over and seen the mistakes that you made. So most of the time, if you just actually read over your work and read your book fully and sometimes read it aloud, you can see that there are certain mistakes that you know you need to fix and sentences that you know you can format better that you could save that editor a lot more time and just go ahead and get it out the way. So also, make sure that you use your resources. Like Microsoft has like Microsoft Word, spell check, everything. I don't get why a lot of people do not use it, but they don't. Spell check is the easiest thing. You just go through it, goes through the entire document, tells you which words are misspelled, and that's all that you need. And it helps, like I said, save time for that editor, saves you money. So once you've edited it as much as you can, you got to come up with that format and that book cover. The formatting is almost just the same process as the book cover. The book cover has to be catchy. Like I said, you want your readers to actually look at it and say they want to read it. But also, the formatting has to do with your page numbering, table contents, the font that you want your readers to read it in, the font having to do with the genre that you're writing in. So it all is a artist type thing that comes together. But if you get it just right, then most of the time the book design is successful and you can go ahead and get it out there and use it. But for the most part, also book formatting can be done on Fiverr. Like I said, Fiverr is my friend. I love Fiverr. Fiverr does everything. But when you are ready to print your books, there are sites that also does book printing and book distribution. So once you actually get your book onto these sites, they will actually give your books out there with that ISBN number to Target, Amazon, Books a Millions, online retailer, Barnes and Noble's online retailer, and you don't have to do anything. Once that ISBN is created and you've actually created your book and printed it and uploaded it up to lulu.com, and that is also going to be Ingram Spark. Those are my two favorites. Lulu.com is one that's my favorite because it helps you actually split your royalties. If you're working with other people, or if you're going to involve, say, like a cover artist or illustrator to do your book cover, you can actually add their royalty in there onto Lulu.com, and they will make sure that everybody gets paid their part that they're supposed to get paid or paid equally. Everything's just easy and it's just right there. They also give you your insights. They let you know about the marketing, how your book's doing, how it's selling, and they drop your revenue into your account every single month. So that's why I love Lulu.com. The other site that I love is Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark is the one that does the most distribution. That's the one that actually does it to like Target, Walmart, anywhere pretty much that does online book retailers. Ingram Spark will actually send it there. So that's what I love about them because it's like you don't have to go out and hunt it down. But when it comes to marketing and when it comes to actually getting your book out there and distributing it as a self-published author, you don't just stop at online retailers and online booksellers. You can actually go to your local bookstores. Wherever you live, there's always somebody selling books at a bookstore. But if you go to them with a book, most of the time they will review your book. They'll look it over. Some bookstores kind of monitor what they put in their bookstore, so they want to actually read your book first and see the content. But it's still a great way to get it out there and to actually promote. What my company also does is make sure that your book has accessibility. So when I say accessibility, is that there are services that can actually turn your book into Braille. Braille, that my book is in Braille for the deaf and the blind in the library in Montgomery. I have a friend that turns books into Braille. There's also audio books. There are just so many ways you can get it out there and that you can market your book. So when it gets out there, the thing that you want to do when you do self-publish is make sure that you are putting it into a way that it can also be branded, because you don't want your book to just kind of sit there and just be a dud and it just really kind of didn't sell because it didn't have anything surrounding it. Branding has to do with you actually taking your book and making it into something that can keep being sold, keep being a form of revenue. So, say that you are writing like a self help book or a book that has to do with somebody being inspired or someone actually changing their life. That means that you can turn that into being a life coach. And when you do go ahead and get your book published and printed and you're speaking your story to other people or you're talking to someone about it, you have those books ready and on hand at a back table. And it has to do with exactly what you were talking about. So that's all the branding is you say having a recipe book and you can merchandise it around, cookware, or you writing for children and having other children's merchandise centered around that book. That's branding, and that's making sure that you strategize and actually put your book out there to be, more than just a book. It's actually a marketable career. So the next thing, let me see, I'm just making sure that y'all don't have any questions. So my thing is I want to actually get to know what are you guys doing, or if you are trying to write books, what are some of the things that you have heard about self-publishing, or what are some of the things that have stopped you from self-publishing? Because that's the other thing. A lot of people, like I said, say that they want to write a book, but they really don't get started. And I kind of, I want to make sure that people stay motivated and keep that momentum, because when it does come to self-publishing, like I said, it's self. So I want to make sure that you guys have that awareness that it's self-marketing, is actually putting yourself out there on a regular. So please make sure you drop any questions that y'all have, or if you have any concerns about self-publishing. I want to know them because they're important, and I want to make sure that we tackle those. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and get into, if you do want assisted self-publishing. Assisted self-publishing has to do with, sometimes if you just don't have the time, or if you just don't have the skills to actually edit your book or format it, or say, put it together, there are companies that you do go through that give certain services for fees. So like I said, I went through Author House at first, and they were the ones who actually did my services, but they charged a lot. So like I said, I did my company because it doesn't take that much money. So what I did was actually start some packages. And if you haven't gotten an opportunity yet, please go on the website. Our website is going to be www.rightawaypublishing.com. That is a publishing company that has publishing packages that are actually more affordable than most are offering right now. So, like I said, Author House offered it at 1,000. I'm starting my packages off at about 360. And 360 actually starts you off with the basic package, and the basic package goes ahead and gives you the print copies. It's going to make sure that you get your book cover assisted, you get a manuscript edited, you get everything formatting with it. So that starts with just anything having to do with, if you've already mostly edited your manuscript and you finished everything, you don't really need editing. That's the perfect package for you. So then the next one is going to be the Sparrow. The Sparrow package is about 600, and that's the one that has to do with you getting more marketing. It has to do with you getting more assistance because you want to do more with your book. So we do market. I love creating content. Creating content is my thing. Like I said, I love Canva. I love helping my authors create content. And also, I create websites. We do offer services as far as individual services, where it's like if you want to just have your book edited and nothing else, we offer that for just $60. If you want to get your website done, that's done at just $100. And people are just paying this ridiculous money to get their websites done. And I just want people to know that it's like I can create a great website for you for just $100 to $150. We do everything pretty much, and I just got this website off of the ground last year, but I already have about 5 amazing authors that I've been working with, and all in different genres. There's a poet, there's a cook, there's a children's book author, there is a fiction author. So it's just everything all in one. But either way, whatever genre that you write, I want to help all authors and make sure that they know that everything is affordable. It's not hard to self-publish your book. The other thing that I also want to get on is I also hear a lot of authors when they do write their books, they get a little skeptical about say that they do have a story and it is about their life, or maybe it's about something that they went through, or it's an experience that they had. It seems like it's a lot of backlash or a lot of things that go on with authors kind of trying to see how they want to tell their story without hurting people's feelings, or without saying like straight up names, or like putting them out there like out in the open. And I understand that. I get it, because it's like you don't want to, put things out there or hurt people. But there's still ways around that. And I let people know that if you want to code names, if you want to call people colors, if you want to, that's fine. Like call them red, yellow, blue, or whatever. But I don't want that to be the barrier that stops people from writing their story, or that puts it out there because they don't want to seem like that they put something out there that wasn't supposed to be put out there. And it's like they'll say they have this great story, like this great story they want to tell. They know it'll make a lot of money because they got this, they got the drama. And I'm like, that's great. Like, what's it about? And they're like, yeah, but I don't want to put it out there because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And I'm like, I mean, either you're going to put it out there or you're not, but I'm just giving that advice. As far as if you want to put your story out there, you can always code things. You can always kind of make it into something else that is not, or kind of get a little creative with it. But also, if you feel like you don't know how to get creative with it, or you don't know how to really put it into words that don't seem like it's attacking anyone, I do that too. I have all the words. I can make things sound very polite. So if you also want that type of service, I have that. I offer that. The other thing that I said was my fourth book is Storyteller, the bestseller. That has to do with all of the key elements that I just described in depth. So that book is actually going to offer everything. It's going to have a scheduling, the way that you can make your writing schedule. It's going to break that down. I can't get into everything today, but that book is going to have everything that you need if you really want to get serious about actually writing your book and sticking to it, and having this method of keeping that momentum and remaining inspired, knowing what to do when you get writer's block, or knowing how to get out of your head sometimes when you have those doubts. All of that is going to be in Storyteller Bestseller. That is also going to be on rightawaypublishing.com, but you can also purchase it on my author website, which is authorrobinchappelle.com. So that's another option that you have, another resource that you have if you're ready to start your book. But my thing is that I tell everybody right now is, please do not just sit on your stories. Do not just sit on money. Actually, put them out there, because I love telling stories. I love people that have stories to tell. And the best stories come from people who are the underdogs, and people really don't think about, or that, they just really are shy, or they really don't have much to say. So I try to get the most out of those people, because those are the ones who really need to tell stories, but they don't. So I just want to let everybody know to just eliminate all that doubt, because you'll get into your head and you'll think like, who am I to write a book, or who am I to write about this stuff? But really, your experiences are everything, and they need to be heard. And I used to think the same way, to where I wrote a bunch of poetry in books, just wrote poetry, kept writing, but I just wouldn't put it out there. And that's a regret that I didn't want to actually have. I've been saying I wanted to write since I was 13, so I'm like, why don't I just put it out there? But don't be that person, that just sits on a story, or just sits on a book, and then later you actually see it out there and you're like, your idea was lost, or it seemed like it was taken by somebody else. That's the worst feeling to have. So just go ahead and go for it. Just actually start writing. Just actually see what you come up with. And the biggest thing is actually outlining your story. They say, if you fail to plan to fail. Actually outline your book, plan your book, put it out there, and see exactly what you come up with before you just start writing, because you don't want to put that work in and then it just goes nowhere. Actually plan out your book and see exactly why you're writing it. Like I said, who you're writing it for. What is the purpose of this book? Because that's going to eliminate a lot of confusion. It's going to cut down a lot of stuff that you got to get through. You don't want that. But either way, I just wanted to actually put those basic tips out there. I wanted to let you guys know that my services are out there. I want to offer those. And I just want you guys to know I'm going to keep doing lives. I'm going to keep putting this stuff out. I'm going to keep giving out tips. And I'm going to keep letting you guys know that I'm available to you. Right Away Publishing Company is available to you. We love creating books. We love helping authors' dreams come true and writers' dreams come true. Even in the group, I called you guys writers because if you do write, you are a writer. You're already there. Writing is an action word. If you are putting in progress towards a book that you write every day, that's what you're doing. You are a writer. So that's already your first step. You just aren't really a published author yet, which is an easy process. That's all I'm letting you guys know. So I'm not gonna hold you too long. I want to just give you some tips, give you a little advice, and just let you guys know that Right Away Publishing is here. But I want you guys to spread the word, and we are gonna do another webinar actually next week. So please make sure that you tune in, and thank you guys for coming. See you later, and have a great night.